aware, kept you on time, told you which way to go, whatever. That's what the genius of this valley is, the intersection of algorithms and emotion, algorithms and intuition. That's what's coming. They're going to tell you incentives for health don't work. They tried it at Safeway, and only 8% of people participated. Really? Well, what kind of innovation was part of that program? What was part of the offer to get people intrigued or whatever? Was there like a we that got people, what is we? We is gamification of exercise. It's clever. Lots more of that's coming. Think about Netflix, think about Sidecar, think about the Nike Fuel Band. The proposition is not that Silicon Valley will single-handedly solve healthcare. That is not the proposition. The proposition is that in combination with enlightened public policy, maybe some good alliances with some big companies that are already invested in healthcare, things are going to change. It's going to change drastically. And an absolute current snafu situation, that situation normal all fouled up, that's what we have now, is going to get better with the contribution, the absolutely indispensable contribution of Silicon Valley innovations. Healthier citizens, better informed, more options. My team's going to show you some things and you're going to go, whoa, how do I get, what's up with that? So that's where we're going. Thank you.
I thank the Honourable Member for his speech, and now look towards the Honourable Member, Maria Sendra, to open the case for the opposition.
Thank you very much. And before I move on, Joe should have an introduction as well. I'm very kind. Joe is a 32-year veteran of Silicon Valley. He's worked in companies ranging from 220,000 employees, digital, SGI, MIPS, in roles from founder to CEO, and he is currently the CEO of Enabling Thought Leadership. For those of you who know Joe, you know that he is a man that is full of life, full of energy, and in this debate, he's just going to be plainly full of it. And now to the topic at hand. This House believes that Silicon Valley innovations will solve the healthcare crisis. Well, this House is wrong. We don't just need health tech, we need health care with a capital C. Why? I'm going to do three things. I'm going to take a look at the situation from a macro perspective. I don't know if any of you have seen the recent article by Stephen Brill in Time, this March 2013. He does a great job of looking at these factors and really personalizing it. We're going to look at the macro factors. We're then going to take a look at what it means personally. We're going to put a face on it. And then we're going to take a look at what it means for future generations. And I believe that you will very graphically understand what I mean by we don't just need health tech, we need health care. And how very arrogant, if not downright dangerous, it would be to think otherwise. So what is the current situation? In the United States of America, 44% of low-wage workers at small firms are uninsured or were uninsured as of 2010. 45% of working adults in small firms have problems paying medical bills. These are pretty significant percentages. 25% of Americans surveyed admitted that they don't follow treatment just to avoid the cost. Yet, on the other hand, the U.S. has the largest annual spend of all developed countries, something like $2,300 per bed per day. To put that in perspective, Hurricane Sandy cost $60 billion to clean up. That's what the healthcare industry spends every week. So there's a lot of money being spent out there. We're buying all these gadgets and technologies, yet, as Joe mentioned, 62% of all bankruptcies in this country are related to healthcare. What's interesting is that 69% of those are from people who are insured. So there's the uninsured can't afford it. There's the people trying to avoid the medical system. Then there's the folks who thought they bought health insurance and it turns out that they're not covered. Yet there's all this money being spent with technology and softwares and biotech. As you know, the biotech industry from the early 90s to current has boomed. But somehow that's just not getting to the patient. Why? Because we don't just need health tech, we need health care. Let's take a look at this from a personal perspective. Let's put a face on it. Stephen, who could be your brother, could be your father, your husband, he worked hard all of his life, and he decided at the age of 40 that he was going to start a tech company. He went out with his wife and he bought health insurance that he thought would cover contingencies. It was very expensive health insurance. He ended up with cancer, got brought to the emergency room. There was a big tumor in his lungs. He couldn't breathe, and this was one of the most premier cancer institutions in this country. And they made him wait for 90 minutes because they weren't sure his check was going to clear, and they knew the insurance had reached its limits. And they said, well, this is ordinary course because that's just the situation. It's just too expensive, and it's just gone out of control. But let's look into the factors a little bit more. Stephen went on to, his wife ended up filing for bankruptcy after many months of trying to figure out, engage, should we allow him to live one more year? How much is that going to cost us? What does it mean to have 3 more months? What does it mean to have 6 more months? There was the bankruptcy, but in between there were all the drugs that made the effort. And there could be the argument, this is what you need to do. But it turned out that he was given a cancer shot that cost $13,710 for one cancer shot. For the medical device that he used, that cost $40,000. And when you look into the details, that cancer shot came from a biotech company that came out of Silicon Valley, where the CEO makes $12 million a year. The medical device company turns a 150% profit margin on that one use. The hospital that made that margin, along with the medical device company, the CEO made $5 million, and the hospital, which was nonprofit, had $780 million gross profit margin. But Stephen's family went bankrupt. So the technology's already there. We're spending the money. The CEOs are being paid $11 million. The medical device company is making 150% gross profit margin. And just to put that in perspective, Apple's technology products make 40% gross profit margin. But somehow, someone forgot the patient in this financial system. So we don't need, health tech is not the only solution. We need health care. And to finally end it there, you could say, well, this is what you need to spend. It's a cost, but at least you have a chance of saving someone's life. Well, if you look at the United States of America, who spends the most, that has this huge financial chain with everyone making money, where does that put us? Well, in the infant mortality index, which is the biggest indicator of where just using tech as opposed to care leaves you, the United States ranks 50. That's several places, 9 spots below Cuba in 2012. So we've created this great financial chain. We've created this great technology, but somehow it hasn't gotten to the patient. We have plenty of technology and money floating around to everyone, but the patient. We don't need just health tech, we need health care. And this is not a regional Silicon Valley health innovations issue. This is a larger global and cultural issue of care and what it means and what it costs. We're literally paying with our lives. We don't need just health tech, we need health care, and I mean with a capital C.
I'd like to thank the Honourable Member very much for her speech, and now look towards Gary Lauer to continue the case for the proposition.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. It's really a pleasure and a privilege to be here. I'm flattered to be a part of this august group up here. I'd like to acknowledge our worthy opponents and Mike Malone. I think Maria made a lot of really great points, and I agree with many of them. There is a crisis underway in healthcare, there's no doubt about it. It's a crisis of cost, it's a crisis of care, but what is occurring today is that technology that's being developed and evolved and delivered is addressing all of these things in some very significant ways. So I'd also like to put a face on this, a very personal face, and also share with you some things that are occurring in our country and around the world, but especially here in the U.S. We've got an aging population. If you look at the bell curve of the distribution of age in this country, you'll find that that bell is moving to the right. In fact, the average age expectancy has gone from 47 years of age to 1900 to close to 80 years of age right now. It's increased 10 years over the last 30 years alone. In fact, we have 76 million baby boomers. These are people born between 1946 and